Chapter 3, Act 2. If my vocabulary was correct, a ghetto was an impoverished, neglected, or otherwise disadvantaged residential area of a city. That didn't describe Ronnie's apartment at all. Sure, the surrounding neighborhood had some broken windows and boarded-up shops, but the building itself looked well-maintained. It was a tall, red brick structure with large reflective windows and spindly metal fire escapes. Ronnie unlocked the front gate and led me through a narrow hallway which, admittedly, smelled faintly of urine and stale body odor. The dingy entrance hall ended at a pair of sleek double doors. Ronnie pressed the lock pad, and the doors pulled back to reveal a small metallic room full of numbered buttons. I gave Ronnie a quizzical look. Is this it? It didn't look like a particularly comfortable place to spend the night, but maybe it had fold-down bunks or something. She turned to me with a dumbfounded expression.
This would be the Ascender, kid. You'll use it daily unless you want to walk up 18 flights of stairs.
She chuckled in disbelief at my ignorance and pressed one of the buttons. The room shook slightly, and the clothing bags on my arms grew a little heavier. I realized the entire room was rising. The room pinged, and the door slid open on a new hallway. This one was clean, carpeted, and well-lit. I followed Ronnie to a tall wooden door. She pressed her hand to the door's lockpad, and it clicked open.
"Home sweet home,"
Ronnie announced, pushing the door aside with her hip. My new shoes clicked against a hardwood floor as I stepped through the door. I found myself inside a large, stylishly decorated living room with an open kitchen built into the left corner. The wall opposite the front door was dominated by floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked a wide river and the soaring city skyline. The sinking sun dipped low on the horizon, bathing the entire scene in golden light. I approached the windows in awe. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Ronnie dropped her bags on a plush beige sofa.
I've thought about selling the place because of property taxes, but I can't give up this view.
And you live here alone? I asked.
Until you came along.
Ronnie walked over to the kitchen island and began pulling out various dishes and cutlery.
This place used to belong to my host. We lived here together for a few months, but she was already in her late 60s when I entered. She died when I was 2, and I inherited the place. I've been living here ever since.
I'm sorry she died. I dumped my bags next to Ronnie's on the couch before following her to the kitchen. I perched on one of the bar stools. Much to my delight, it turned out to be the swivel kind. I gave in to the temptation and used my legs to spin my stool in slow circles.
It was her time.
Ronnie smiled at my immature behavior.
But I don't plan on dying in the next 18 weeks, so you'll have to find your own place when I'm done training you.
I abruptly stopped spinning. I didn't like the thought of taking on the world by myself. Will you help me with that? Ronnie filled 2 small bowls with chopped fruit and pushed one toward me.
Trust me, Emily. By the end of your training period, you'll be champing at the bit to get out of here. But yeah, it's my job to make sure you're ready.
That made me feel better. I speared a slice of juicy orange fruit with my fork and popped it into my mouth. My eyes widened in surprise. This is so good, I exclaimed. It's the best thing I've ever tasted. Ronnie laughed.
It's the only thing you've ever tasted,
she pointed out.
And if you think that's good, wait till I give you some chocolate.
40 minutes later, I was lying on the couch in a complete food coma. I'd never felt happier in my life. Though considering my life had only started about 5 hours ago, that wasn't too hard to accomplish. Ronnie finished putting away the dishes, then sat next to me.
I remember my first meal, she reminisced. I woke up with a massive stomachache the next morning, but my host Pozzole was totally worth the indigestion.
How often do we eat? I rubbed my distended stomach. I feel like I could go for weeks before eating again. She laughed.
You'll be singing a different tune when you wake up and smell my almond griddle cakes.
With an exaggerated yawn, she pushed herself up from the couch.
Come on, I'll show you to your room so you can get settled in.
We gathered the shopping bags from the floor, where they'd been unceremoniously pushed to make room for us on the couch. The bags felt 40 pounds heavier since I'd last carried them. I must have been more tired than I thought. My exhaustion evaporated the instant I saw the contents of Ronnie's hallway. Books. Hundreds of them. The right side of the wide hallway was lined with floor-to-ceiling bookcases, all stuffed with brightly bound information. Maybe these books could tell me everything I wanted to know about this world. I dropped my clothing bags to the hardwood floor and fingered the titles. Eating Through Erudite, Exploring the Country's Finest Foods by Julie Newby, Finnegan's Travels by Jonathan Smith, Unsard Yourself, Get Out of Your Head and Into Your Life by Gary Abbott. Ronnie had a bit of everything here. Have you read all of these? I asked.
Not even close.
Ronnie frowned at my abandoned shopping bags.
They belonged to my host. I got rid of most of her stuff when she died, but I left the books. I thought they made me look sophisticated.
She shrugged.
You like reading?
I think so, I said tentatively. Just seeing the books makes me really happy.
So you couldn't be bothered with clothes, but you love books?
Ronnie shook her head in mock despair.
Just my luck. My newbie turns out to be a giant nerd.
A thick navy blue hardcover with blocky lettering caught my eye. I pulled it from the shelf and read the title, The Book of Panosyn. Not the catchiest name, yet it held my interest. Something about the book felt oddly familiar. Simply holding it made my heart feel light and warm in my chest. Who's Panosyn? I asked.
Oh, Panosyn's a historical figure who may or may not have existed.
Ronnie shrugged with obvious disinterest.
Legend says he's the first guy who ever entered. That book is supposed to be a compilation of things he said to his followers. Some people claim it answers the mysteries of life, the universe, and everything.
Really? That sounded like exactly what I needed. I eagerly pulled open the cover.
Don't get too excited, Ronnie warned. It's mostly a bunch of boring motivational fluff like perfect love casteth out fear and by small and simple things are great things brought to pass.
You've read it then? I thumbed through the book's gold-embossed pages.
Nah, but my host loved to quote it. She even had a tiny painting of Panosyn she wore in a locket around her neck.
Ronnie chuckled at the memory.
Her husband died before I could meet him, but I often wondered how he felt about being the second most important man in her life. People get super into the mythos of Panosyn.
Ronnie shrugged again.
I think it's a little weird, but as long as it encourages kindness, I see no harm in it. There is harm in sleep deprivation, though.
She pulled the book out of my hands and replaced it on the shelf.
You'll have plenty of time to read later, but now you need to go to bed, or I'll break the 9 hours rule.
My bedroom turned out to be clean and cozy. It had a large bed, a couple of nightstands, and a small desk tucked into the corner. But the room's dominating feature was a large bay window that overlooked the eastern end of the city and the vast, dark ocean beyond. Ronnie picked up a stack of pamphlets from the desk and handed them to me. They were covered in smiling cartoon images and snappy phrases like, "Germs are not for sharing," and "Stay away, tooth decay."
I'm supposed to go over these with you to make sure you understand basic hygiene and stuff, Ronnie explained. But you seem smart enough to figure it out on your own.
I nodded silently. I was glad she thought I was smart. I didn't want to ruin that perception by saying something stupid.
My room is at the end of the hallway if you need anything else tonight, Ronnie continued. I'll make breakfast around 7:30 tomorrow. Then we've got to get back to the entrance center for your 24-hour checkup and to register your bioprint. After that, you'll be a fully recognized citizen and we can get you started at work.
Again, I nodded at the onslaught of information. I had several questions. Would the checkup involve needles? Was work mandatory? What kind of work would I do? But I restrained myself. Ronnie looked tired, and I didn't need to know that stuff before morning anyway. Ronnie started to leave, but she lingered at the doorway. She turned back to me.
You've had a lot to take in today, Emily, but you've handled it well. I think you'll turn out just fine. Sweet dreams, kid.
Thanks for everything, Ronnie, I said as she turned away. I'm glad you're my host. She paused to smile at me. Then she stepped out of the room, pulling the door softly shut behind her. I walked to my window and sat on the padded ledge below it. As I mentally processed my first day of life, I watched the city lights glimmer against the night sky. Everything to the west was illuminated in the soft glow of civilization, but to the east, darkness reigned. The river below was full of little ships whose navigation lights bobbed gently in the waves. As I watched, a small pinprick of light separated itself from the rest and ventured out alone onto the endless ocean.